Hey everybody, welcome to Unit 4. This is our next to last unit, so we're getting close to the end here, but in this unit here you can see we have three chapters, 11, 12, and 13. And the first chapter here, chapter 11, on what are called factorial designs, these are going to be the most complex sort of designs that we're going to cover in our course here. And they're basically, what they do is they basically take a situation where you have more than one independent variable, and how having two or more of these independent variables or IVs can contribute to the same dependent variables. So it's a more complex way to look at the world, and I'm going to caution you now, if you don't watch the lecture videos for the most part, you're really going to want to watch the lecture videos for this chapter here, because if you try to read that stuff in the book on your own, you're probably going to have a whole bunch of like jet plane sounds going over your head there, because this is one of those types of chapters where it really helps to have someone walk you through it. And I know I do a pretty good job of handling these sorts of designs because I've seen that in the classroom many times, and you're going to find that there's a lot of repetition of what I say in the videos about this, but just trust me, by the time the chapter is over, you're really going to get it as far as these designs here, because there's really no substitute for having some practice and going over some examples for these particular sorts of designs there. And you're going to learn a lot about what these things that are called main effects and interactions. And that probably doesn't mean anything to you right now, but when you start going through the chapter, you're going to have to know what those things are. And you're also going to learn that there's really two ways to examine these things we call main effects and interactions. And one of those ways is by looking at data that's in a matrix. And you'll see what a matrix is when you go through your chapter. And the other way you're going to have to learn how to determine if there's an interaction or a main effect is by visually looking at a graph of the data. And so I'm going to teach you in the videos how to look at both sorts of situations there in a matrix or in a graph and determine, is there a main effect or is there an interaction? And again, when you start going through the chapter, you'll learn about what those things are. And I'm just going to caution you one last time here, and being redundant already, you really want to watch the videos for this one. And I do walk you through examples on a dry erase board and put in data and just point things out. And it's really kind of necessary to do that. So you can try to do it on your own, but I would recommend watching the videos. You'll see what I mean once they're all over. The second chapter there, chapter 12, deals with the correlational research strategy. And you might recall in two chapters already in the course we've touched on correlations. Back in chapter 3, our chapter on measurement, and also chapter 6, our chapter that introduced all the various research strategies. So this is a chapter that's exclusively devoted to the correlational research strategy you can see in the module there. And you might remember that mantra there with correlations. Correlation is not causation. And so far in the course, we haven't really talked about why that is. What do we mean when we say that? Well, you should be able to articulate why in psychology we are fond of saying correlation is not causation. And in this chapter, we're actually going to walk you through why that's the case. And so by the time this course is over, especially this chapter, if somebody were to ask you, hey, what do you guys mean in psychology about correlation isn't causation? You should be able to pipe up and say it's for these particular reasons. There's really two main reasons you're going to learn about that really cause us to have some caution about saying correlation is not causation. I'm going to walk you through some examples of those, and definitely good stuff there. It's not a very long chapter, and again, we've already covered most of it, believe it or not, in the previous chapters, but I'm just going to quickly walk you through some of the basic stuff there about that. But then again, just drill down a bit more into some things, and really why we do correlational studies in the first place. So there's kind of a nice presentation of that there in your book, and I also cover that in the lecture there. Now the last chapter here, chapter 13 is on yet another strategy, the descriptive research strategy. You may recall back in chapter 6 we had introduced this as one of those 5 research strategies that are showcased in that chapter there. And as its name implies, descriptive research strategy, well, here you're all about describing behavior. So this chapter is not about trying to explain or get to the why of behavior. It's all about the what of behavior. And you're going to learn that there's really 3 sorts of research designs here that help us deploy the descriptive research strategy. You might recall designs are the execution or deployment of the strategy, and they're simply known here, these 3, as the observational research design, as the second one is the survey research design. You've all heard about surveys. And the last one there is the case study research design. And I will caution you a little bit here, and this is not a problem here, but when you get to the survey research design, when you click on the video lectures link there, I'll just go ahead and open this up here. As soon as it opens. It's always slow when you don't want it to be. What you're going to see, in addition to the link to the lecture videos, there's a link to 4 PDF files here. And these are sample surveys that you'll want to either get onto your device or just download and print out there. So when you go through the lecture videos, you can follow along, because I do make reference to these very short 4 actual surveys. So they're real survey examples, if you will. So if you've got those handy, you'll be able to get a lot more out of the lecture when I get to the survey part of the chapter there. So just letting you know, and I did stick it there right there under the video, so I'm hoping you're all going to see that there. I thought that was the most obvious place, so you know, just take a look at those there. And some really good stuff in the chapter there too about case studies as well, and the section on case studies is actually pretty important to pay attention to, because it's really good table setting for the next chapter that we're going to cover in the last part of the course, and that's on the single subject experimental research designs. And so they're really just a spin-off of your basic case studies. So having the case study stuff under your belt will make it a lot easier for you to get everything in chapter 14 when we get to that last part of the course there. And that's really all I wanted to say about this unit right here. Well, okay, well, good luck on working your way through the chapter there. And just a little final note here. Once you get past chapter 11, the chapter on factorial designs, which handles all those really complex sorts of designs in the course here, it gets a lot easier from here. I think everything that follows chapter 11 is pretty much all downhill from there. And I don't mean downhill in a bad way, I mean downhill in a good way. It's a lot easier to kind of coast along there, because the rest of the research designs and strategies really aren't all that complicated. So once you get past that one, I think you'll find it a lot more digestible, and won't give you a tummy ache there to have to learn some of this stuff, I think you'll find. So anyway, I'll let you go, and I'll see you in the next unit there.